Hello everyone, we are back with a new video series, and in this video we are going to discuss about the urban livelihood. And this is the ninth chapter from civics, from integrated social science, Ratna Sagar, class 6. When we are talking about livelihood, so what livelihood basically means, isn't it? Livelihood basically refers to means of securing basic necessities of life. Now, when it comes to necessities of life, so basic necessities, what are our basic necessities? Water, food, medicine, shelter, clothing, isn't it? So, a person's livelihood refers to their means of securing the basic necessities of life. And urban areas basically mean the places. Basically means the places where modernization has occurred, isn't it? Where there is a huge population, where there are factories, there are opportunities of employment, isn't it? And examples of urban areas are large cities like New Delhi, Mumbai, or smaller cities like Jaipur, Bhopal, or Pune. Livelihoods means what people do for a living and the lifestyles they have, isn't it? So, in this chapter, we are going to learn about urban livelihood, types of urban livelihoods in India, that is, the types of job in the city and the lifestyles people lead. In a city, people are engaged in different professions. Some are employed by others, while some are self employed, isn't it? And in cities, it is easy to spot many people working in the streets. Some examples of are of the people working on the streets are a vegetable vendor, ice cream sellers, cobblers, rickshaw pullers, newspaper sellers, etc. These workers are self-employed people. Another special feature is that there may be no permanent shop for them to carry out their occupation. Some live and sell their products in sacks, some move around in bicycles, and millions are left to sleep beneath highway roads, isn't it? Most of these workers have either migrated from rural areas in search of earning more money, but alas, the city life engulfs them. Those who set up their temporary shops, what happened to them? What happened to them? The police can ask them to remove their shops at any time, so they have no security even. Vendors are not allowed to go to certain parts of the city. They sell eatables that are usually prepared at home by their family members. And there are approximately 1 crore street vendors in India working in urban areas. But some measures have been taken by the government in making the right to earn of street vendors easy. What government has done? The government is considering relaxing the law that bans street vendors so that their right to earn a livelihood is recognized. It has been suggested that there should be special areas for them in the cities. They should also be allowed to move about in all. In the chapter, there is a story of a rickshaw puller named Chagan. Let us read the story and find out what difficulties Chagan faces. Chagan says he is coming from a village in UP where he worked as an agricultural laborer. His family lives in the village. They do not own any land in the village. He did not get work regularly, due to which he could not meet the ends of his family. So he came to the city. In the city, he made a friend whose name is Anil, and he and Anil introduced him to Hari Prasad, who owns many rickshaws. He pulls rickshaw that belongs to Hari Prasad and he works from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. Every month he has to pay rupees 300 as rent for the cycle rickshaw and he earns about 100 rupees every day, out of which he spends 60 on food and rent, and each passenger gives him 5 to 10 rupees per trip depending on the distance. He earns less when it rains or when he falls ill. He goes to his village to see his family twice a year only, and his wife is even working as an agricultural laborer in the village. So you may have observed that, like Jagan, a large number of people in the city work on the streets. They work on their own, they are not employed by anyone, and therefore have to organize their own work. They have to plan how much to purchase, as well as where and how to set up their shops, isn't it? This was Shagan. You have seen how miserable his life is, how much labor he he is doing. Then also his earning is not that much that can help him fulfill the needs of his family, isn't it? Now, coming to the next part, that is what we see in the market. In the local market, this is the image which you are seeing here is a local market. So, this is a local market, and there are many shops selling utensils, crockery, electronic goods, such as TV, refrigerators, and music systems, and also ready made clothes, footwear, and toys. There are even restaurants, fast food joints, jewelry shops, bookshops, sweet shops, banks, courier services, and clinics. There is one more story in the book regarding shopkeepers, Mandeep and Priya, and a businessman named Sunil. So Mandeep and Priya own a crockery shop. All kinds of crockeries are available here. The shop also stocks steel utensils. There are many shopkeepers in different markets, isn't it? Their shops may be big or small. Some of them own these shops while others are tenants. Most of them are self employed. They employ a number of salesmen, supervisors, and helpers. The local bodies issue licenses to these people to run their businesses. On one day of the week, market remains closed, and this day is fixed by the municipal corporation. When it comes to administration of urban areas, we have already discussed how an urban area is administered in the previous chapter named under urban administration, isn't it? Now, talking about the businessman Sunil. Sunil is a businessman. He goes to the wholesale cloth market to purchase material. Some of these material comes from Surat, Ahmedabad, and Mumbai, and some of the dress materials are obtained from foreign countries. Sunil runs a boutique too. He ad he has advertised in newspapers and on television and radio. When he started working 15 years ago, he was a tenant in the building. He was working under someone. And 2 years ago, he bought the shop. With every passing year, he earns more money for his business. And with this profit, Sunil has been able to build his own house. He has also bought a car. So we have seen that how some businessmen that fall into the category of organized sector where their accounts and businesses are recorded, how the small businessmen are self-employed in the unorganized sector and how they invest some money into starting on their own and slowly make profits. Business is a risky deal and it takes courage and creativity to run a successful one, isn't it? Next, we'll turn on to one more side of the urban area, that is one more aspect of a means of earning livelihood, that is the factory workshop area. So a factory workshop area is basically an area full of small and big factories. In some parts of the in some factories, some parts of machines are manufactured, while in others, the part of machines are assembled. Like this, the assembly, the factories, each factory is performing its own function in its own way, and the people who are working here are known as factory workers. They are the casual workers. Why they are casual workers? The because they do not have a permanent work. Their work is irregular, and it consists of a series of jobs. They are paid on a day to day basis depending on the work they have done on that particular day. They are required to come as and when the employer needs them. They are employed when the employer gets large orders or during certain seasons. At other times of the year, they have to find some other work. There is no job security or protection for them. They have to work for very long hours and they have to accept low wages as well. These people are not formally employed and thus they fall in the unorganized sector. Be- Besides, they work as and when their employer wants them to and earns a very small income for their work. And there could be other examples as well, like sewers in cloth factories or laborers used for lifting heavy packages. These people are hired and paid on an hourly basis, and it is not enough for them to subsist on generally, isn't it? Coming on to the next aspect of urban livelihood is the office area, which is basically an organized sector. A majority of urban livelihood in India falls under this category of workers. Examples of this is a marketing manager of a company, a civil engineer working on bridges, or doctor working in the hospital. They earn the highest salary in the city per month, but they do not earn hourly wages like laborers. These workers have several benefits unlike street workers or factory laborers. These benefits are like having a company's retirement plan, a company's medical insurance, having paid leaves. Thus, we see what type of jobs are there in cities, ranging from self-employing working on the streets to working in big companies and corporates. In the office area, here is a story of a manager whose name is Chandni, and her office is in an area which has many other offices as well. Chandni works in a company that publishes books, and the office is situated in an area which has many other offices. She looks after the sales sections. See, she supervises the work of 35 salespersons who visit different shops to get orders, and each salesperson is in charge of one specific area. They report to Chandani at least once every day, and Chandani works till about 6 p.m. So there are many benefits that worker gets because of a permanent job or because of working in an organized sector. What are those benefits? The first one is a fixed salary. Okay, they have the fixed salary every month. They get a fixed salary every month. They have the job security and they won't be asked to leave the company. Every month, a part of salary is saved by the government on which the worker gets interest. She or he will receive this money after retirement, and this fund is known as Provident Fund. These workers also get leaves on every Sunday and on other national holidays. One can also take a leave if one is not well. For these leaves, No amount is deducted from salary. Even the company pays for the medical bills up to a certain amount. Thus, we see that what is the difference between the jobs that people are somehow employed to according to the work or according to their need and educational qualification. So now when we are talking about employment, we must look over on some more aspects as well. For example, status of women, isn't it? So the status of women in urban areas is higher than that of women in rural areas. Urban women, and here we are comparing the status of women, status of rural women to status of urban women, okay? And the status of women in urban area is higher than that of women in rural areas, and they are comparatively more educated and liberal. But the labor market, in the labor market, women are still disadvantaged, at a disadvantage. The labor market discriminates against women. They do not get equal opportunities even, and it is unfair to put women in an unimportant situation. This was the comparison of a rural and urban woman between the status of a rural and urban woman. Coming on to, we will also be comparing between the rural and urban structure as well. So, rural and urban communities may be distinguished from each other on basis of occupation, size or population or environment and social division. The main occupation of the people in rural communities is agriculture. Some are engaged in non-agricultural activities, but in urban communities, people are mainly engaged in non-agricultural activities such as manufacturing, trade and commerce. Rural communities are smaller while urban communities are larger. People in rural areas are close to the nature, while people in urban areas are isolated from nature. While rural communities are divided more on caste, less on class basis, urban communities are divided more on class basis. Movement in rural areas is more from villages to villages and villages to cities, while movement in urban areas is more from one city to another. And the number of working children in rural areas is 10 times more than that in urban areas. This was a comparison between the rural and urban structure. So, in this chapter, what we have read till, let us recapitulate it. We have seen what type of jobs are there in cities, ranging from self-employing work on the streets to working in big companies and corporates. Cities have the richest and the poorest people, and the gap in urban livelihoods is shocking and unfortunate. As stu- as responsible citizens, we must work towards providing the underprivileged with basic necessities and support. With this, I come to an end of this chapter, and in the next video, we will be reading about the next chapter. We'll be discussing about the next chapter from geography, that is India physical features. Till then, have a nice day, keep smiling, but do watch the video after reading the chapter. Thank you.